everyone. Welcome to another edition of Inside Centercourt Baseball. It's Mike Olshan along with Dave Gallagher, the longtime pro, major, minor league, 17-year professional career, 9 in the majors, senior advisor, really, of Centercourt Baseball. Welcome, Dave. And looking outside at a 75-degree day, baseball starting, and all things are good, right? Except for the Phillies.
Yeah, really, right? Phillies 0-4. Look, cutting into my beach time, I know that, but always happy to talk baseball. It's really good to turn the corner. I'm really happy for all of the players right now, college, high school, and all underneath the younger ages, because as you and I know, April, especially early April, is still a crapshoot with the weather. So
yeah. Great day today. I already hit my morning game. Feel like the old spring training days where I'm out at a game at 10 a.m. thanks to schools being on break, and we love that. But first games for everybody, and want to take a few minutes with you to really kind of set the stage for our Makos families to make the most out of and make 2023 a great experience for everybody. So let's kind of get going with that. And as I said, first games, first impressions. And just if you could talk about, the importance of patience, in the families as the season starts, because as you well know, how things look on day one, that takes about 2 hours for the first game, and all of a sudden things look a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, I coached at every level, partly because I'm old, but partly because I love the game, and I've been in the game in every capacity. And when we talk today, I certainly don't want parents or even players, if they check in on this, to think that I'm ever talking down to anybody. I'm not, because I'm a parent, number one, of 5 children who've gone through this process. But I also played it and coached it. And senior advisor is such a good title for me, because it's not me, not mostly. I think the most valuable information I can give to Centercourt and anybody else that I'm mentoring is not always how to do things the right way, but sometimes what doesn't work. I think that sometimes can be more valuable. And I hope I can pull on the heartstrings of the parents in a couple of these categories for good reason, that we really are all in this together, and we're all in it with the priority being the kids. And I've watched over the last 25 to 30 years, way too much stress being put on the kids. And we all, as parents, love our kids, I sure hope. So we don't mean to do it. Sometimes it just happens in the way we react to things. So yeah, patience is, if you can put yourself as a parent just in the mind of a coach early on, your first couple of tournaments. Yes, he's seen them in winter training. He's seen the kids. The coaching staff is getting a feel for where he might be best fit for the team as far as position on defense. Can he swing the bat? Can he run? Does he have power? Pitchers, are they accurate? Do they have a really good arm? Are they good secondary pitches? All depending on the ages of the kids. But that's an evaluation process. Sometimes your kids will look better indoors in winter practices than they do in competition of a game. And opposite. I would remember being told by, there's a name you would remember, Mike, but probably no one else, Dennis Menke. He was the Phillies hitting coach when I played for the Phillies. I came out of cage one day pregame batting practice, and he was shaking his head. I said, "Hey, Mank, what's up? Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Man, you take the ugliest batting practice, and then you get 2 hits every game." And I get it. I wanted everybody else's gorgeous swing. There were so many guys, but the point is, I'm asking the parents, please be patient with your coaches. Don't overreact. If your son is batting 8th in the first game, or he's playing a position that maybe you didn't think that he should be playing, let them have this feeling out process. And then if it's an older player, I would encourage you to tell your son, if he needs to talk to the coach, teach them how. Teach them how. So old enough, maybe 13 and up. Is it easy? No. But should it sound like a complaint? No, it doesn't have to. It's picking the right time. It certainly isn't 5 minutes after a loss. It might be pre-practice or post-practice. Coach, can I have a couple of minutes to just talk to you? Never talk about another player on your team. Never put a teammate down just to benefit yourself. But, we're supposed to be developing the kids. So That's a huge part of development, is learning how to speak to a coach. Coach, I'd like to help the team. What do I need to work on? What are you really saying there? I want to play. But you're not putting anybody else down, and you're not overstressing the coach, because here's the bottom line. Here's the truth of the matter. If you go in complaining, especially if it's a parent, the coach will say what you want to hear to get you away from him. And as soon as you walk away, when the other coaches are around, he doesn't like you at that point. He's not pulling for you or your son, because that was the wrong way to do it. So patience for sure. But if it gets to a point where you feel the need to say something, if it's you, again, just like you would teach your son, try to do it the right way. Never right before or right after a game. Pick a spot and do it with some professionalism. And I think you'll get better results if you do it that way.
Yeah, and I always felt that the 24-hour rule was a great way to go about it for two reasons. Number one, the heat of the moment, the game is never really the right time anyway. But also that gives you some time to kind of cool down and maybe figure out an approach that's going to really lead to, because you want an effective way to kind of solve what you consider is a situation.
Yeah, I think this is something that has changed. I mean, there's always been, people in general who have hot tempers. I can remember when I was in Little League, that's a long time ago, but, there was a brawl behind the backstop with a parent and umpire. So, I mean, there's always going to be somebody that's hot tempered. But I think what has changed, and not in a good way, and I think we call it what it is, with the onset of travel baseball and the costs of everything, you guys as parents are being asked to make such a commitment of time and money that, God help that umpire that rings your son up for strike 3 on a pitch that's 6 inches outside. And we know that does happen. But now you're looking at it like, he's cutting into my investment. And if it's a coach that didn't start your son, you might look at it the same way. So that's never good. I think we have to try again, putting the kids as the priority. We don't want kids, your own kids. And if we look at, as an organization, all of our kids to be in an environment that's not healthy for them. Those things, those disagreements or discussions, I hope, they got to be behind closed doors or over a phone where kids don't sense that. If the kid hears you reaming out a coach and chasing him down in the parking lot, or an umpire or an opposing coach, or he now is going to think that this is just so important to his parents, that if he doesn't get any hits, he probably doesn't even want to get in a car. He feels like he let you down. So I think the best way to go about this, again, this is years of experience. Hide your emotions the best that you can. You got to get them out. So maybe if it's you and your wife talking about it behind closed doors, not at the dinner table with your son or on the ride home, blasting the coach or blasting his teammates, why aren't you playing? I think that's a discussion you have together away from your son. And if you really feel strongly about it, as Mike said, that 24-hour rule is critical. It calms down the emotions. And I've used it. I've used it as the head of Gallagher Baseball, where there was a gentleman who called me after a game, 5 minutes after a game, and one of the best tournaments I thought we had, because the kids learned so much. All the games were close. I really thought it was a wonderful tournament. On my drive home, I got a call. Why didn't my son start that semifinal? And the answer was because he pitched 4 innings the game before, so he DH'd. I was protecting his arm. I love that kid. I love the parents, the families, really good people, still are. Boy, he just blasted me. And I said, look, let's give this some time and we'll talk. And 2 days went by. So I went 48-hour rule, because I got in my own mind, which rarely happens, I was thinking, if I call him right now, it's not going to be good. And I waited and I waited. And it was the best thing that could have happened. We met before practice, and he approached me and was apologetic, and I was easily accepting the apology. I understand, because again, such a large commitment of finances and time that I think it can push you over the top, but there is a right way to do it. So keep that 24-hour rule in mind. Things will dissipate a little bit. You may even dismiss calling the coach after 24 hours and realize that's not that important. But even if you do, your emotions won't nearly be as high.
Yeah, now that sort of leads into, I guess this is really more player focused, but also, Makos kind of parents and others who are, watching the games and a part of the whole thing, because emotions do get intense and there is more of an investment than probably there was. Controlling the controllables is kind of an easy way to say it, but during the game, proper, you still get out to high school games, you still get out to a lot of games. You hear the chirping's always been a part of the game, but how do you keep it from overrunning the game, and what's the right way to go about your business?
I'm smiling again because my head is filled with all these experiences and stories. And I want to bring up, I was playing Legion so many years ago, and big game against the Trenton Schroths, and I'm on post 31, and Joey Bexo is pitching. He was just good. We knew he was good, but I was pretty good too. And my sister, rarely at a game, my older sister is at a game, and as I'm in the batter's box, she's shouting every time he threw a ball. She was shouting, "You're afraid of him. Throw him a strike. You're afraid." And I was just like, that's not my personality. I wanted to tell my sister, Kathy, stop. Don't do that. She's competitive. So, I guess I'm hoping that that's a funny story, but I think we have to, like you said, control what we do on behalf of our kids. That sometimes can be hard if the other team's parents are yelling, right? But I look at it like this. I've always said in organizations that I've been a part of, your best or your worst advertising for your organization would be your behavior at those tournaments, at the games. And that's collectively, that's the coaches, the players, and that's the parents. Because if you're calm and the coaches in win or loss are teaching, they're still developing, and the kids are hustling, they're where they're supposed to be, whether they have a good game or a bad game, they show class. Everyone else that's watching, someday as the kids get older, and for some of the kids that might be listening now and the parents of the older players, it's vital. College coaches will walk away from your game if it's ugly. If the behavior from the coaches, from the players, and the parents is ugly, they won't even stick around. So again, we're in this together. Let's show some class. And I think going in, we have to recognize that umpires are so spread out nowadays. They got to cover rec games. They got to cover summer ball at Legion. They got to cover high school. They got to cover travel. And I've been to games where I'm dead positive that the home plate umpire is certified, but didn't have another umpire and brought his teenage son. And I'm okay with it. I really want to get the kids innings. That's really the way I look at it. This is not a state championship high school game. You know what I mean? It's travel baseball, and there's another tournament the next weekend. So I never went crazy. And I think, again, I hope I'm making the point of that behavior is for the kids, ultimately. It won't be accepted by coaches. If the coaches are over the top, they'll just disappear. That's typically what happens is they'll be gone. You won't see them coaching because we can't have that. They're the number one example setter for the kids. And then, of course, the parents.
For sure. And obviously now that the season is starting, at the younger levels, our teams are involved in USABL play. Our older levels are still involved in getting the weekly practice in together. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Obviously, this is a time where people have many commitments, sometimes overcommitted, but the importance of having a team together, practice and game attendance. Why does that, besides the obvious, why does that make it a better experience for everyone in 2023?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very difficult topic for a travel organization. And I've had to deal with this for 25, 30 years now. And again, going back to keeping the kid in mind, right? The last thing we want a kid to do is wake up in the morning and he's got a practice for his rec team. He has a practice for his travel team. He can't be at both. And So he starts to feel sick in his stomach because he doesn't want to let either one down. I think we got to do the best we can with communication, parents to the coach, and my favorite is when the parents communicate with each other on the team, and they have discussions when maybe it's during practice or even a game when they're off in the bleachers, and they're discussing, because the loyalty to the team that you're on, even if it's not our team, if it's another team in another organization, I stress the importance of be loyal to that team, because if I'm the coach, I look forward to practice. And I know that the staffing we have, Centercourt Makos, best I've ever seen. And I've been in a lot of organizations, but collectively the best, most professional, knowledgeable coaches. I'm not just saying that. That's what I see. So if any of us are trying to plan out a practice, and you take the time to write it out, we're going to do this for the first 15 minutes, and then this, and then this, and then this, you're going to cover a lot of ground. And then you show up, it's time to stretch, and you're missing 4 kids, including your catcher, which is, I mean, a very important position especially for practice, right? And now all of a sudden you got to change everything. Well, we'll hit them some ground balls and we'll throw batting practice. Now those poor kids that did show and were loyal, they're getting the short end of the stick. They're getting a practice that's not as good as it could be. So in fairness to the entire group, you have to hopefully at least diminish the times that you do not make it. I understand there might be obligations for district all-stars. Some teams decide as parents, as a group, we're not going to do districts. The coach hears that, they have that communication. Now their practices are fantastic because everybody's coming and they have the freedom. Now I'm not telling everybody to do that, but you got to have that discussion with the coach. I know we as an organization want to cooperate. And same with middle school. I always thought that was a tough one. You know, kids that are playing middle school in 6th or 7th grade. I mean, I wouldn't want a kid to, if it was my son, to go to middle school practice for 2 hours and then, you know, quickly jump in a car, stop at McDonald's on the way over to our practice 20 minutes late just to get, he was doing baseball. But please keep in mind the coach, the tough position you're putting the coach in. If your son misses practice, he might be one of the best players on the team. But now you have a tournament that weekend. The parents of the kids who come to practice, they're going to feel put out if all of a sudden their son is sitting. Your son didn't make practice at all during the week, and then he shows up Saturday and gets, you know, put right in. You can't win as a coach there. If you don't play that talented kid, those parents are mad and threaten to go to another organization. And if you do play him, the parents of the kids who are doing the right thing of being loyal, they're upset. So all I can say is that, you know, if we can go in with the idea of let's be loyal to this team, it will have an effect, I know, in tryouts. The kids that are always attending and working hard are typically the kids that you want back on that team year after year after year. And you're really, it's again, teaching them the right way to do things. And as you get older, nobody's going to want a player that isn't committed. I had this battle with my wife. My wife hates baseball. She never liked it, never likes, doesn't know the rules. And be beautiful weekend. And my son, one of my kids, would have a practice for Legion. And my wife would say, oh, he doesn't have to go. We're going down the shore. And I would say, well, he can stay with your mom and dad. He's got to go to practice. Like, that's how I've always felt, you know, that you are loyal and committed to the team that you're on. Look, if there's an open weekend, so I'm glad we're having this conversation, because don't look at the schedule when it's handed out, like right this time of year. Everybody's probably got their schedule for at least the spring, if not the spring, summer. Don't look at that, see a gap, and then call somebody and say, we're not playing on, May 15th. I don't even know if that's a weekend. Can my son play with your team? Because what might happen is leading up to that date, there might be a rainout. The first thing that we do as an organization is try to make that tournament up on an open weekend. So please refrain from that. If it's a Friday or a Thursday night, weather looks good for the upcoming weekend, we don't have a game, and you're able to play for another team, I'm not saying yes, do it, but I don't think there's any harm there in your son getting more baseball in.
I think it's also important for coaches, because I think we've both been there, where you might get a little frustrated at somebody not attending, and it's in your head when your focus of practice needs to be on the guys who are there.
Yeah, Mike, you and I were talking this morning, and I said, like, been doing this so long that I can remember running a practice just like I described. I looked forward to preparing a practice because I had it in my mind what we needed. You know, what didn't we do well? I felt responsibility to the team to improve on where we're falling short. So I looked forward to that. What kind of drills can I do? What do I want to talk to them about before the practice actually gets started? I love that. And I have it all planned out, and I feel so prepared, and I get to the ballpark, and now here we are. Okay, guys, go down the right field line, take the bucket of baseballs and start stretching. And we got 6 guys.
Why aren't there 14? Why do we have 8, right?
And then at the end of practice, like you said, you get so frustrated, you sit down with them for the post-practice talk, and I'm talking to them about commitment, lack of commitment. But I'm talking to the kids who actually came, you know, so that it can be frustrating. All I can do is ask. I know it makes the experience better for each individual player, and you're going to get better practices. You're going to get more excitement and passion from your coaches if the kids are there. I think everybody can understand that. And this is the perfect time to talk about it because, yeah, a couple of teams might have played a tournament, but most haven't played yet. So there's no emotions involved. Think it over, make this the best possible experience. If your son has a level of talent, it doesn't matter whether he goes 3 straight tournaments without a hit. He still has talent. And you have the right kind of people that know how to notice it. Just keep your stress level down and let him enjoy it, support him. But don't have him feel like this is the most important thing in your family, because that's overstress. You know, even if you have to fake it, you know, make the kid think that this is not that big of a deal. Let's go grab something to eat after a bad game. And yeah, this is part of dealing. Hey, bottom line is he's got to learn how to battle through adversity. He has to. You know what I mean? Like when I look back, I was a really good player as an amateur. And strange as it sounds, I wish I failed more, because it would have brought to my attention what I needed to work on. You know what I mean? Like I always hit well until I started playing pro ball in my first year. And a month into the season, I was hitting 230 something. And I had never experienced that. Yeah. I didn't know how to handle it.
How do I get out of it? You know,
I did not know how to handle it. I never paid attention.
Yeah, now you're playing for money, and it's your job, and you know, you got to have that experience of, okay, I went 0 for 8, but I got to stay to my, you know, I'm going to change everything. I trust my process, and you know, you pull out of it.
Yeah, and if you haven't experienced it, you really don't know, you know. So again, I smile a lot when I see somebody struggle, and that's usually the kid. If I go to a game, that's usually the kid that I'll nestle up next to in the dugout and just say, hey, look, we know you're a good player. Don't worry about it. Go out there, see if you can have a good inning next inning or next at bat. Because I lived that life. I mean, there's just so much failure in the game. So don't try to fix everything for your son. Let him work through that. Be encouraging and supportive, but let them work through adversity. It really doesn't matter that much when they're young. It does matter as they get older, because now they're fighting for a spot on a team or starting position. So let them learn that, just like they would learn fielding a ground ball or pitching or hitting.
As always, a lot to talk about, you know, certainly as the weather changes and the seasons begin, but most importantly, we want to do what we can to really make sure 2023 is the best season and the best experience for everybody. So as always, appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences, Dave, and hopefully we'll see you out at the field very soon.
Yeah, I look forward to it.